Welcome back to the FantasyLabs podcast. This is your host, Bryan Mears, and I am joined by Justin Phan, which means it's basketball season again. The greatest time of year. Justin, what's going on?
So excited to be back. I couldn't deal with any more baseball. It was getting, a little bit ridiculous. Back to the real sport here, the best sport. And, it's a really exciting time for the league. A lot's been made over the offseason, justifiably so, about the Warriors and, our
okay, starting with that already.
Our crazy amount of talent. I think, what I'm really excited for is just the young and up-and-coming talent that we have in this league. I think it's going to be a big year for these 21 and younger group of players. You got Karl-Anthony Towns, Giannis, Porzingis, Jokic, Wiggins, D'Angelo Russell, Devin Booker. I'm not even naming like Miles Turner, Aaron Gordon, Jabari Parker. There's so many young players that are bound to really make that jump this season. So that's what I'm really excited for, is just watching these young guys kind of, find their games and really take it to the next level.
I'm so glad you had Jokic as like your fourth guy. You mentioned I had a NBA just like season long draft with my college buddies, and I took Jokic, and like legitimately only like one or two guys even knew who he was, and I was like,
Jokic is insane. In like really competitive season long draft, he's going like 3-4 turns. He's going really early in these drafts, and obviously he's going to have a big year.
For sharp players,
I'm curious to see how that Jokic Nurkic front court turns out. It looks like that's what they're going to go with, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, he looked really good in the Olympics, obviously. So exciting times for NBA, and we're just a week away. So the point of this podcast is, I'm sure by just seeing the title of it, whether you're on YouTube watching this video or on iTunes listening to the podcast, is we're introducing the product. We have a lot of new tools and new additions to the NBA product. We actually started FantasyLabs back, year, not this past MLB, but the year ago. So we've had the opportunity to do MLB, do NBA, do NFL, but we've also had the chance to, make versions 2.0 or improve upon our MLB product and our NFL product. And now it's time to do the same for NBA. And I think we've got some really cool things in the works. So that's why Justin and I are here, is to sort of tease these, go over these. We're going to have tutorials. We're going to have tons of education on how to use these. But we're really just going to spend a couple minutes just talking through the exciting things that we got going on. Sound good, Justin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So before we get to that, let's just quickly go through what's going to be the same. People loved the NBA product last year, and that was great. It was exciting to hear, all the people that really enjoyed using the tools, the news and the Twitter, and listening to the pods. That was great. We always appreciate that feedback. So let's start with the stuff that's staying the same. It's obviously going to try to do it better and improve, but some of the same old stuff that you guys can look forward to. First place we'll start is the news, because I think that is, a big part of our product is the news in our Twitter. I'll kick it to you on that.
Yeah, it's kind of be the same thing. We're going to aim to be the fastest in the industry, get everything out within 10, 20, 30 seconds really quickly. And then on top of that, give you all the relevant tidbits, lineup information, rotation, minutes, all that type of stuff. Anything that's pertinent to that day, to that slate that can influence your decisions. We'll have it, on our Twitter, on our news feed. We'll write blurbs. In terms of things that are different, we're really excited to add JJ Calley to our team this year as our third member. He's been doing great work for us for MLB, and NBA is his forte. NBA is his sport. So really looking forward to having him on board. You can read, he's going to be writing a lot of the blurbs too. So definitely excited to have his insight and his takes on the team.
Yeah, our news was great last year. The NBA guys killed it on that. And it's really, I think, interesting this year because DraftKings just announced that there's no late swap. So news is even more critical. I mean, not just keeping up with news throughout the night, but really having, data-driven analysis of, what's going to happen that night. Not only like, this guy is doubtful, but the last couple times he was doubtful, he played. Like, we're going to do our best to try to provide the best analysis for you with our news, with these blurbs, try to help you deal with the changes this year.
Yeah, with the DK late swap, for sure, it's going to be a matter of getting as much information on those questionable, even probable guys heading into lock, and kind of gauging whether or not it's worth the risk to play those guys. Before with late swap, if something happened, you can just swap off another player within, in those late games and be okay. But now you really have to be on top of it and gather as much information. I think it's a lot more relevant in tournaments for sure, because there can be kind of an edge there in terms of, people being scared off by a truly questionable guy, and, you getting, good information that there's a, above average to good chance that that guy's going to play. You can get him at reduced ownership and kind of get him at a discount potentially there. So yeah, news is going to be more important this year with the rule changes.
Yeah, and the cool part about the news is that we have guys who, you guys monitor all of the beat writers, you monitor everything. So a regular fantasy player, it's entirely overwhelming to try to figure out all of the players, who's questionable, who's doubtful, all this stuff. And our news page and our Twitter just aggregates it all for you in useful, relevant blurbs on the guys you should be worried about, the guys you should focus on. It's just an easy way to just narrow down your plays before lock. Yeah,
and we kind of just want you to just be at one page, get your info from one source, and not have to worry about missing different things, and let us worry about that for you. Let us scramble and go all over the place and do these searches and go to different websites, team injury reports. Let us scour that for you and aggregate and compile all that information in one spot to make it a lot easier.
Exactly. So that's going to be, there's a news page where you can read the blurbs. Of course, follow us at FantasyLabs NBA. Please just go ahead and do it right now, so you can make sure that you are following us as the season starts next week. Coming up on it. All right, let's move on, Justin. Let's talk about a couple new, old things, but with some new additions here. Our trends tool, I think last year it was a premium product, but now in this NBA season, it's actually free for users, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think trends is probably the most underutilized tool on the site, just for the average user. And, especially with NBA being a lot more consistent in nature than a sport like, NFL or MLB, you can really build some powerful trends, and see how have players in similar situations performed in the past, min price guys stepping into higher usage, or just be able to just build a bunch of trends on your own, and then seeing which players consistently show up and pop in those trends. It can be really powerful. And, I've played around with trends. I've gotten some really, really big plus minuses there. Yeah. And with sizable consistency too. So, this can be kind of like your own personal, secret weapon that you only have access to, and you can build just for yourself.
Right, and it has integration with the player model. So anytime you build a trend, it'll sync up. So if you build a trend and it matches a player, so let's say a guy has the trend is built around a high Vegas total. The guys who match that Vegas total in your player models that trend will pull up, so you'll be able to see as you're building lineups. Oh yeah, that trend that I built 3 weeks ago that was really useful about that Vegas total is showing up for those players. So we have integration across all of our tools, which is really cool. In addition, we'll quickly move on, hit on all these things, but we have historical ownership in trends now as well. So not only can you build a trend and see the awesome plus minus, great consistency, but you can also see how owned those guys were historically, which, you can see like, oh, this guy was a crazy value, and also no one was on him. And those are sort of like the incredible value things that you can find for tournaments.
Right. I think it's more work, which is why it's underutilized, but the reward is very, very sizable. If you can harness it,
you can be profitable.
Your advantage. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely a good way to increase your profitability in NBA. Let's see about moving player models, changing a little bit. You wanna hit on that, Justin?
Yeah, I think we'll get to kind of the version 2.0 in a little bit, but just the kind of the base version of it is kind of going to be, up to the minute player projections based on news. Everything's going to be up to the minute, and you don't have to worry about, this guy updating or this guy, whatever, and making updates on your own. And yeah, it's gonna, we're gonna add some columns and true usage and a lot of different things that'll relevant for each player. But yeah, kind of like the same type of feel to it for the base version. We'll get to the upgraded version a little later. But yeah, I've been making changes to the fan model today. Pretty excited about that.
Wow.
Trying to get that plus minus on that model, a little higher, and making some changes here. So exciting times.
Yeah, very exciting times. Cool. Let's get into. I guess we have one more thing that's going to be back is our podcasts. We're going to be doing podcasts like we did last year. I believe we're starting at 3 times a week. We're going to sort of gauge, how many times we have time to do it for and how many times we can do it for. We'll obviously pod as much as possible. We really enjoy it personally, I know. And we got some good feedback last year. So we definitely always appreciate you guys subscribing on iTunes and giving us feedback, watching on YouTube, commenting, and we'll definitely pod as much as possible. We'll have written breakdowns every day. So we don't need to say a whole lot about that, but you, me, and Jay and Pete the GOAT, Pete, CSU Ram 88, we're going to be podding all the time. So as normal, we'll definitely make sure that we give you some analysis on the awesome tools and the projections that are coming out for that day. So cool. Let's move on to the new tools. So let's start off with what we're calling the NBA matchups tool. Justin, I'll kick it to you on this one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, a place where you'll also be able to find projected and confirmed lineups that will be updated to the minute. I think that's really something that people have been clamoring for and asking for from us for a long time. So we'll have that on this page, and it's redesigned a little bit compared to what it looks like for NFL. I wanted to get it to more like the true matchups essence of it, where you kind of see player and player matched up, and we're using apples to apples stats, and we're stats where there's an offensive and a defensive equivalent. So traditionally you can say something like a guy has a 18.5 PER, and then a guy has a 0.5 defensive real plus minus. Like, what is that? Like, it's really hard to compare the two. Right. So on this page we'll have offensive and defensive versions of stats. You have your essentials, real plus minus, fantasy points per minute, and plus minus. But what I'm also really excited for on this page is we're going to take a next level look. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, is really dig into the nuances of defenses and how they defend certain types of players. And that's twofold. How they defend shots from different areas on the floor. We'll have a section of the matchups tool devoted to shooting, where we'll break down each player's field goal percentage from different spots on the floor: mid-range, paint, restricted area, 3-point percentage, and match it up to his opponent. If a guy makes his living, a point guard makes his living driving to the basket and finishing around the rim. If he's facing a team that defends the rim really well, that's really relevant. And that kind of logic applies and extends to play types as well. And that's something I'm really excited for. So we'll have ball handler, isolation, roll man, spot up, points per possession, and frequency for every single starter, and the defending, the defenders, equivalent of that as well. So it'll be really interesting to see, how well opponents defend each type of play. If a point guard makes his living on the pick and roll, we'll be able to see how the opposing point guard defends ball handlers coming off that pick and roll. So I'm really excited just to see kind of this next level type of analysis, and have it available and more organized for users, rather than just having to scour stats out and just kind of piecing it together, one by one.
Right. Like a great example is, something you can see very easily. And this is not something that we were able to even analyze, except just sort of hypothetically last year is, an example is Reggie Jackson, who is going to be out, but, he was the point guard for the Detroit Pistons. He ran just a ton of pick and rolls with Andre Drummond. I mean, that was most of their offense. The stand-bang gun, the offense is what you would expect. But, before it was sort of hard to tell, okay, well, how is a team going to actually defend them? Like, are they good against the pick and roll? It's sort of hard to obtain that data. You can just go to the matchups tool and you can say, okay, they're playing the Toronto Raptors tonight, and Reggie Jackson have to go up against Kyle Lowry. It looks like he is really good at defending ball handlers in the pick and roll. So maybe this is a situation where I want to, not go Reggie and Cash. And so it's stuff like that. It's like just next level analysis that I think is just going to be amazing to help people just find sharp plays on a nightly basis.
Right. And one thing I wanted to keep in mind while building this page too was that defenses are more nuanced. It's not just a one-on-one matchup. So even though it's kind of displayed as one-on-one, what I like about this page too is that you can also see every single other starter and how they defend that play type. So how does Jonas Valanciunas defend the roll man, or you can just see everybody on that defense as well and get a sense of how well they collectively can defend that play type too. So I think that's definitely useful. And this is a page that we're going to integrate news within this page too. So it's going to be a page I think that you'll want to keep open all the time. You get your news there and your confirmed and projected lineups in one place, and don't have to move from tab to tab really for that.
Yeah, that's one thing I do really appreciate and I'm excited about is our tools. We're really working on making them work together. Our trends can help build our models. Our news is useful everywhere. This data is useful everywhere. We have all these tools, and I think we're trying to sort of combine them into one cohesive NBA product to make you a profitable player. I mean, that's what we're here for, is to make you a profitable NBA player. And I think these tools will definitely help. Any more thoughts on matchups? You want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Cool. So let's move on to I think the most exciting tool, and I've just been excited every second since we've started working on this. It's an on-off tool, and I won't say any more, Justin. I'll let you have you can tease it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there are on-off tools that exist right now, and when I was thinking about building on-off tools, like, yeah, I'm not going to just build one. We're not going to have one that's just like equivalent or whatever, the same. Like, there's no point. Like, you might as well just go to the sites that exist now. So, I wanted to add something extra to make it more DFS focused and just more usable for the average person, so they can really understand what a query means, or what So one of the things at the top that is going to make it a lot more easy is, with each query you have a leaderboard at the top. It shows you the top usage differentials, its absolute values, positive or negative. It'll show you the top DraftKings or FanDuel plus minus. So I think it's a little bit cumbersome for at times, especially if it's an hour or less before before lock, to do one of these queries and then have to like look through every single stat and kind of interpret and decipher what everything means, who wins and who are the beneficiaries. So I think the leaderboards will be a really easy way to kind of get a snapshot version of a summary of who benefits in this situation. One of the things I know you're excited about too is we've added the ability to filter full games only. So I think that is something that I don't see anyone else doing, and I think it would be really useful because what this on-off is basically, traditionally it's like 4 or 5 minute snippets from each game pieced together in a whole, right? And a full game only filter, if Jeff Teague's out and you want to see how Dennis Schroeder does, we don't really care what Schroeder does when Teague is healthy and playing. We care when Teague is out the whole game. Right. How does Schroeder do? So the ability to really filter full games only and to really replicate the scenarios and the situations more accurately is going to be really important.
Yeah, I literally 15 seconds ago, I pulled up Sacramento Kings. I selected DeMarcus Cousins off. I selected full games only. And I can see in 17 games last year, Kosta Koufos led the Kings in top DraftKings differential. So when Boogie was out, Kosta Koufos outscored his salary-based expectation by 12.6 DraftKings points. Just destroyed it. He was a cash game play. It was, and that was awesome. And I think what's interesting is that on the left you could see top usage differentials. Rudy Gay had the most usage, not the most value. So this is stuff that it's just awesome. I mean, this is just money right here, where you can easily, and literally it took me 10 seconds. I wasn't just saying that. It took me 10 seconds to just query this and figure out, okay, the news, the Twitter is telling me, FantasyLabs NBA is telling me that, this player might be out. Let me go quickly see, last year, what did he do what did the team do when he was off the court, out of the game? And I can just see it so easily and all of a sudden adjust my lineups and figure out which guys I want to, go heavy exposure on. I mean, it's awesome. It really is. I know I'm biased, but it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think one last thing that I'll add that we have is the historical salaries as well, and the DraftKings and FanDuel plus minus. I think that's something that no one else has, and you can tell me that X player averages 20 DraftKings points per 36, but that doesn't really mean that much to me. If he's priced at a certain, at 7 or 7+ K or something, like it's always relative to salary. Right. So having that plus minus there is a really important aspect of this to tell you, how he's done comparative to a salary. And also, we added today's that day's projections alongside it, so you can also compare the two together and see how they stack up.
And projected plus minus, which is a really cool stat that just helps you identify, how much of a value they are in comparison to their salary. Again, this is a really cool tool. Something I'm personally excited to use myself, and I think is something that's going to be really, really helpful for users. So awesome stuff here. I'm excited for you guys to see it and check it out and play around with it, because I think it's going to be awesome. Moving on, we got some more things to talk about. Quickly, we'll just hit on the Vegas dashboard. This is something that we added for back in this second version of the MLB. People liked it, so we requested it, and so we added it for NFL. People still like it, so we're adding it for NBA. It's just a really cool place to it pulls up open lines, live lines, betting percentages, spreads. It has really just everything in one place. And I think it's actually really useful for NBA, especially because NBA is such a value-driven sport. More so than any other sport, really. It's sort of the most predictive sport because it's the biggest sample in a single game, as opposed to MLB. A batter only has 4 bats. NFL, a receiver can, just get 3 targets. So volatile sports, Vegas is just a little less predictive than it is in NBA. So having a Vegas page where you can just go and quickly identify which teams are implied to score the most points, try to find some reverse line movement, to find some contrarian values. Just a really useful place just to have that tab pulled up and figure out, which teams, which guys you want to target for the night. So we're adding that, of course. We have it for all of our sports. It'll look the exact same, really, as the other sports, but something we definitely wanted to add because it would be especially useful for NBA. All right, enough on that spiel. Let's move on. So we had hinted on this, and Justin, I'll let you sort of go into a little more in depth. Is sort of what is going to be new in the player models. With a lineup builder, we have a player pool features now, and some different filters. So I'll let you go into what's going to be different for the NBA models.
Yeah, and I think it's great timing for us to launch this for NBA, because I think it's probably the sport where it's going to be most useful. And I say that because with these other sports, with NFL, with MLB, there's so much of emphasis on stacking, correlations, and that type of stuff. And in this new Models 2.0, we give you the ability to like and unlike players to, and add them to your pool of players, right? So, just with that feature, you can maybe put a pool of 20, 25 players that you like on that specific night, and then generate lineups just based on those players. And I think that's fine for NBA because it's so value driven. You can stack sometimes, you know, I think there's situations like that, but it's not a must, you know. It is a must in other sports. So I think it's really helpful to really narrow and hone down on a pool of players that you like and be able to generate lineups based off of that. And I also think it's interesting and really, you know, Jonathan Bales has talked about this, and I think it's a really great tournament strategy in general is to, you know, kind of build a core group of players and then really alter your surrounding players around, you know, just kind of mix it up a little bit. So we have this ability now where you can, you know, add core groups and save them and then generate all these lineups around these core groups based on, you know, different filters and all that type of stuff. So for, you know, for NBA, I think it's really great timing just because it's really all about like players. You don't have to worry too much about how they mix and match with each other, and don't have to really worry about them necessarily making sense. Like I love game stacking in NFL, for example, right? You have to stack in MLB. So you know, this sets up really well. And you know, I think the way things are going, you know, cash games are getting a lot tougher, especially for NBA. You know, I think a couple of years ago, you used to be able to just cash by being on top of news and kind of plugging in really obvious value plays. You know, nowadays, like everybody's on top of news. Everybody knows these value plays. So, you know, it's getting just tougher to beat, you know, other factors as well, kind of adding to that. So, you know, I think tournaments are the way to go here. And, you know, it's kind of a great, you know, way to attack things now, the way things are going.
Yeah, I agree. I love the group stacking, like what you called it. So, you know, theoretically, if you say, all right, I love, you know, I'll just go with players we've talked about. I love Reggie, I love Boogie, and I love Paul Millsap, let's say, for example. You know, you could lock those players in as a group. You could save that group, and then you could, you know, you can limit your player pools, and you say, yeah, I have 30 guys, but I really love those 3 guys. So, and then you can set exposure as a group. So then you could go into the lineup builder. You can say, all right, I want to build 150 lineups to throw into this tournament, and I want those 3 guys as a core to be in 80% of those lineups. And boom, I mean, instantly you have 150 lineups with your pool of players with 80% of the exposure spread among those cores. So it's just an easy way to really quickly get to the guys that you like. And make really good lineups that is not going to take you all day. You know, this is stuff that, you know, can take you just minutes to build, you know, profitable tournament lineups is what our hope is. So just a really cool additions plural for our player models that I think are going to be really useful for our users.
Yeah, just cutting down time is really the key, and just being able to generate these quickly, it's really important for NBA, especially with, you know, the news breaking late, and, you know, you can just have, you know, like 20 players, you know, and go through each position, like, you know, 4 players each position, and then, you know, generate lineups based on those guys. And it makes it so seamless and really easy to get those out.
Yeah. So a lot of awesome additions with player models, and really just all of our tools. I think all of our tools have seen some sort of upgrade, some of them significant, some just brand new tools. So definitely go check them out. You know, if you were a subscriber last year to NBA, or, you know, interested in just seeing the tools, you know, definitely check them out. Some of them are free. The Trends tool is free. You know, see what we have to offer. Follow us at FantasyLabs NBA. Justin, any other stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think we'll have, you know, a big feature potentially coming very soon here. Not gonna announce it just yet, but, you know, it's in the works, and, you know, I think it'll be a really crucial addition to our product. So stay tuned for that. We'll get more into that, and maybe drop a pod potentially. Yeah, I'm really excited, you know, to get started, and you know, love to hear your guys' feedback. As always, you could drop, you know, an @reply, a line, you know, at our NBA account or my personal account. You know, we always love to hear back from you guys about what you guys like to see, some improvements and whatever. And, you know, it's always about, you know, our users and making your experience the best it could possibly be.
Yeah, positive or negative, we love feedback all the time for sure. So I guess we'll end it there, Justin. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Thanks for listening. We're just super excited to get these new additions out to you guys and have you guys test them out, and then actually use them for some NBA. FanDuel just dropped. We're recording this on Monday night. FanDuel just dropped their salaries for next week for the main slate. So I guess that means it's officially Christmas. It's officially here.
It's time. It's time to get rolling. Last thing before I go out, I told Donkey and meant to drop this earlier, but I wanted to give a shout out to our co-founders, Kevin and Mike. Just putting so much work on this stuff, and our newest dev, Devin, as well. The real goats here, and
right.
They're as much, if not more, responsible for all these improvements than Bales and I are. It's really easy for us to conceptualize and say, hey, it'd be cool if we did this, but it's a whole different thing to actually, have guys who can execute, and then, add really cool stuff on top of that as well. So I want to give those guys some love. Definitely big parts of our team, and we couldn't do any of this without that trio.
Yeah, our dev team is awesome. Love those guys. So shout out to them for sure. All right, so we'll end it there. Be on the lookout for a potential pod. That's all we'll say. Big news, potentially. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.